Hey everyone, my name is Maisa, and today we're going to do an interview for Project Joy. Today I'm going to interview Joe, and he runs Lovefest here in Sydney, and we're going to talk a little bit about joy and how we can find joy on everyday life no matter what we're going through. We're going to share a little bit about his journey and how he sees joy in his life. Hey Joe, thank you for being here and talking to me.
Hey Maisa, it's an honor to be here, and really excited to have this conversation.
Awesome, thank you for accepting my invitation. And I think it's always good to start with how you see joy in your life, because I think people might see joy in different ways. So what is joy for you? How do you see it?
Joy for me, it really comes for me from being present and doing things, following my heart, following what feels right in my heart. And sometimes, that's not having to plan too many things. It's more just like being in the moment and following my heart, doing things that I love more than anything,
Cool. Was it always like this? You always had that mindset, or?
No, I used to struggle with that more. I used to stress a lot over work. Like I used to work pretty hard. I had my own business in IT, and even when I was a software developer and I was working long hours, stressing over work a lot and focusing on making a lot of money. And although I felt like I was doing the right thing and that there still was joy in my life in some way, I felt like I wasn't living really congruent. And I didn't know that there was something more than what I was experiencing at the time. I thought that, this is it, this is life.
And when did things start to change? What happened to make you want to promote changes and change as you were feeling like you were not aligned? What really was like the last drop that made you kind of start to promote bigger changes in your life?
So it all started when about 15 years ago, which would have been 2004, November 28th is the day. My wife at the time, my ex-wife, she had who I'm still good friends with, she had a brain aneurysm, so a blood vessel burst in her brain, and she got flown with a helicopter to Royal North Shore Hospital, and I was told that she would either die or be permanently disabled from the surgery. And she was on life support, and there was no other option apart from having this surgery, otherwise she would die anyway. So I had to sign her life away pretty much, and I was devastated, and I had a 1-year-old daughter, and through that I started questioning life. What's the point of living? Why am I here? Is it worth living? Is there a God? Is there anything higher? Is there, why should I live? Why should we all live? So all these big questions I started asking, and I felt a lot of fear and despair over what was happening with my wife at the time, because she was going into surgery the next day. I remember I was pacing up and down my house for hours and hours and hours. And from that fear and from that, I suppose, desperation that I felt around that, came some faith, and faith that, she will be okay and that she can come through it. But I also learned different coping strategies. Like I learned how to do Reiki and other modalities, and I started doing healing on her every day. And this kind of gave me hope, a bit more hope and faith, So she ended up coming home in New Year's Eve, which is what I kind of visualized, and she actually ended up being okay in the end, which was quite amazing. And I know that sometimes it doesn't happen, with these situations, and from that moment I felt very blessed to just be alive, just grateful to just be living and breathing, because anything can happen at any moment and we might not be, because I know that it's happened to so many others where it hasn't worked out, where they've survived. And so both her and I started to look at life differently, where, hang on, why are we focusing on money so much? We should be focusing on things that feel right in our hearts more. It's something that's more uplifting, and from that we're like, okay, we want to help the world too. So we started running charity events and things like that. And I had this disease because of my stresses at work. I had this disease called Crohn's disease, and I was told that I was going to have it for the rest of my life. That I suffered for 10 years. I suffered immensely. I had regular bowel movements. I was told that I was high risk of bowel cancer. I was on 4 different types of medication. I was told that I need surgery to remove part of my bowel and have to go to the bathroom with a bag, and I felt very distraught. Again, I went through this phase of despair again.
That was after she had the disease?
After she healed, because what happened is it was about 3 years after she healed from the brain aneurysm. So she almost died. So 3 years after that near-death experience, I started wanting to change something about me, but I had the disease 7 years before that happened for her. So I had the disease for 7 years from stressing before, and then she had this brain aneurysm, and then 3 years later, I'm like, well, there's something I'm gonna have to do about myself. I had enough of my suffering because I was suffering from my disease for so long.
Yeah, 10 years, right? That's a long time.
10 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I decided to look at my disease, at my situation, and I started to change things about my life. And that had started 3 years earlier. But I reached the point 3 years later where I decided, this was 11 years from now, it's just 2008. I decided that I was going to heal myself, right? And I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I knew that it was possible, and I believed in many possibilities. And I was influenced by Deepak Chopra's book called The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success.
Yeah, I never read that book, but I loved his documentary Heal, that it's totally aligned with what you're saying as well.
Yeah. So I read that book, and I really connected with everything that he was saying, especially when it came around to how we have infinite possibilities and infinite potential. We are so much more than we think we are. We have so much more ability than we think. And I started practicing some of what his teachings, and that led me to a number of things. So starting with gratitude, I would wake up in the mornings, instead of feeling pity over myself, I would look at what I'm grateful for, grateful to be alive, grateful to be breathing. There were many times I remember when I would still feel really sick in the body. I'd wake up and feel sick in the body, and then I'd just close my eyes and breathe and imagine what it would feel like to be perfectly healthy. And I'd imagine that, and then I'd say, thank you for my perfect health, because I would visualize that perfect health and feel it, even if it's for a second, or think about it. Even if I don't feel it, I'd think perfect health, because I want to train my brain as well into perfect health. There's a big, mind over body, is a thing. Like Joe Dispenza's written a book about the placebo, and so many people have used the placebo to heal as well. So I started learning about all these things that I didn't know existed before, because they don't teach you that at school, and doctors don't talk about that either. And so from that, I had faith and belief, and I started doing all these different things, and I changed my lifestyle, and I started doing more of things that I love. I started being a child again. I started playing more, and and slowly I got better and better. Like I remember when I was at my worst, I remember that I wanted to play with my daughter, who was like around 4 years old at the time now. I remember I wanted to just jump around and play with her, and I couldn't, because I felt so in pain, or I was so low in energy, and I just dreamed of the day, just one day I just wanted to be able to play and have fun without feeling sick. I was just dreaming of that, and I'm like, and that helped me to to heal as well, because it was something that my heart really wanted, and so as I was starting to get better and better, I started to let go of all of these things that I had used in the past to help me cope, like the medication. I did change diet and exercise and that, and others had tried that too, but it didn't work, because for me it wasn't about diet and exercise, it was so much more, and it included my emotions. You know, I started getting in touch with myself emotionally, and knowing that I had learnt that a lot of disease and pain in the body is because of trapped emotions that haven't been experienced and released, you know. So I learnt about my emotional body. I learnt how to talk to myself more positively as well. It doesn't mean that the non-positive things aren't there, like you still have the emotions that are difficult to deal with, and the thoughts, negative thoughts are still there, and telling myself I'm not good enough are still there even to this day. But what I did is I learned to train myself to say that, you know, I am good enough and that I can do this, and I started to think in that way. And after 18 months of doing this, I became completely symptom free.
Wow.
And that was in March. That was 11 years. So it's about 11 years and a few months now.
And were you taking regular medications as well, or you just focused on all of that, those changes?
Well, before then I was taking 4 different types of medication.
Yeah.
And then during the transition, as I started feeling better, I started weaning off my medication slowly. I slowly weaned off my medication. I tried a bit of Chinese medicine as well, and I weaned off that first actually, and then the other medication. And then I weaned off, and I put myself on this diet, and then after I healed, I started introducing those foods back again. So I started eating normally again, and I even started smoking and drinking again. So don't try this at home. But
not that we're encouraging.
I'm not encouraging it, but I did it because I wanted to prove to myself that it wasn't that.
Yeah.
Like, that helped to create the right condition for
Yeah.
me, but it was so much more than that, you know. And I did that for 5 years, and eventually I stopped smoking, and I slowed down my drinking a lot. Like, drinking meaning every weekend go out and party or whatever. You know, I don't really drink much anymore. Like, I'll have like a glass of wine or something, or a beer, and that's it. So I like to party sober now.
Conscious partying.
Conscious party. But yeah, so and that was a really massive life-changing experience for me, to get to that place where I don't have this disease anymore. What it meant for me was that I was able to really enjoy my life so much more now. You know, like, I was able to play with my daughter and jump around like a child. You know, I was able to, I actually started to feel younger, and I felt like I was growing younger and younger as time went on, which was quite amazing. And
yeah, I kind of feel the same way.
Yeah. Cool, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And so
how did your life change going through all of that? What changes did you promote when it comes to your career and your lifestyle?
Yeah, well, what happened is then I wanted to help others to have this experience, because I'm like, I've just discovered this, and it's something special, and I really want to share it with the world and help others as well. So I started going into forums and trying to help others with these things, and
with diseases as well?
Diseases. I helped friends through, like, I knew friends that were suffering from depression, and there were people in my life that were suffering from alcohol abuse and different things like that, and I started doing what I can to hold space for them, to help them work through that. And it seemed to work quite well most of the time. And I also wanted to continue to improve my life, to follow my dreams and my passion and my heart, right? And my heart was calling out for the beach as well. So I moved to the beach right in front, and my dream was to hold coaching sessions at the beach. So I did a life coaching course. I became a life coach. I started coaching people to change their lives, and they were coming to me to have coaching sessions at the beach in nature, which was a dream come true for me. And so that was me experiencing more joy. So I started to experience more joy by helping people to change their life. I experienced more joy by living by the beach, by I'd play with my children at the beach as well, so this is what my heart was calling for, so I just followed that. Now what happens though, when you start to do things like that, your brain starts to tell you that you can't. Your thinking brain says, no, I can't do this, I need to save up more money. No, I can't do this, I can't afford that. No, I can't do that because I have children. No, I can't do this because I need to, there's always an excuse that we come up with. No, I can't. And when people do that, they don't follow their dreams. They stay in the same place. Now, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just sharing this so I can express that if you really do want to follow your dreams, then you can, right? That, yes, there are obstacles, and the challenge is finding a way through those obstacles or around them, so you can still experience more of that joy for yourself that you want to experience.
Definitely. I see that sometimes people use the obstacles, like you said, as an excuse to give up and to say it's too hard and not do anything at all.
Yeah.
Because deep down they're terrified of actually overcoming that and following their dreams. But like you said, when you start following your heart and your intuition and the voice that points you in the direction that it's going to bring you more joy, life starts to become making dreams come true one after the other.
Yeah, that's true. And it doesn't mean that there aren't any challenges. Like it's super challenging stepping out of your comfort zone, and because it's easy to be comfortable and live a comfortable life, but to step out of your comfort zone, it's very challenging, and it does take courage.
Yeah.
I'll admit that. But what's on the other side? And usually when you do that, you can't see what's on the other side because you're stepping into this unknown territory. But what's on the other side is something that brings more joy, regardless of the challenge. That the challenges are still there in life. Like whether you follow your dreams or not, you're always going to have challenges.
Yeah, definitely.
But what's on the other side when you follow your dreams and your heart, is it's almost like you're opening up to receive more joy and empowerment in your life. Yeah, that's what I've found. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And how did Lovefest come into place in all that story? How did you start Lovefest?
Yeah, so what happened is I kept following my passion and my dreams and stepping out of my comfort zone. And I ended up leaving the place at the beach and going to the United States. And I had an experience in the United States where I had also split from a relationship that I was having, and I found myself kind of floating. And I went to the United States and I left the last place that I lived at the beach, and then I came back from the United States and I had this amazing experience there with community, and I held workshops and talks there about healing as well, which was really fun. And just I had also gone to Nepal the year before, where I went and helped after the earthquakes. Again, I followed my heart. I had this feeling in my heart that I need to be in Nepal to help after the earthquakes. And again, there was a lot of fear, and people were telling me not to go, that it's dangerous, that what if there could be another earthquake, and that you're going to get in the way of other people there that are helping, and etc. But I just kept going, and it's not that I didn't listen to them. I listened to what they said, and I took that on board. And I decided to move forward anyway, in my own way, with caution. And I ended up building a team, ended up forming together. We raised money. We went to this part of Nepal that's far away from the city, and we built 5 classrooms. We helped the schools there. I held workshops for university students, for teachers, for principals, and I was on TV there, and I felt like I really made a difference. But then when I came back, I was feeling good about myself because I felt like I was helping them. But when I came back, I started processing everything that had happened, and I actually felt like I had learned more from them. I felt like I actually gained more from them than I actually gave, because I was giving without expecting anything in return. I was just giving because I just wanted to help, And so that was a big lesson for me. Number one is that when you give and you do something to make a difference, you're actually going to receive more for yourself. I also learnt about community there, because when I was in the city, I asked them how everyone's doing after the earthquakes, and it was very challenging for a lot of people. They were saying that there's a lot of trauma still. But when I went into the remote villages at the school, I had an interpreter, and I asked him, like, how's everybody coping after the earthquakes? And he goes, oh, everybody's fine. And I'm like, what do you mean everybody's fine? There's destruction everywhere, like houses knocked over all over the place. And it's not, everyone's doing quite well. And I'm like, I don't understand. Why is everybody doing fine here and not in the city? And he's like, well, because here, we're together, we help each other. It's like a community, and we have nature, In the city, they don't have that. And I'm like, true. And that made a lot of sense to me. And those learnings stuck with me, because I had that experience, They stuck with me. And then when I went to the United States, I met community there as well. And I had never experienced this in the Western world, and it was different to Nepal, of course, but it was very connected. And I went and I did a few things there as well, and I also helped. I did this drive to help the homeless people, to feed them on Thanksgiving and whatever, and then I went to all these parties, and then sober parties, by the way, no alcohol, which is amazing. Like, they actually exist.
They exist, people. They do exist.
Yeah. and then I came to Australia, and I had learned something else there, that maybe I don't need to help maybe these people, because I had talked to someone that was homeless in San Diego, and had a chat with him, and he just wanted someone to talk to. He just wanted to connect and someone to talk to. He didn't really need to have money and food or whatever. He was okay, This is what I gained from having a conversation with him. Nobody else was talking to anybody. Everybody was giving food and whatever, and they weren't really having a deep conversation. So I wanted to have a deep conversation with someone that was on the streets, So then I come back and I'm like, I start questioning, do they really need my help? Do others really need my help? Or do I need my help? Like, after what I had learned from Nepal, and when I again, it's like, so I need my help. And what happened is, at the same time, I had gone into financial difficulties as well. So I moved in, when I came back from the United States, I moved in with my mother, which is another story again. But it was, in a lot of ways, it was very good for me to be with my mother. Family is also very important for us. And I had my kids with me, and I reached this moment where I remember I broke down about 3 times, because I felt like I hadn't achieved anything, and even though I had done all these things in the past, at that moment I felt like I had nothing, and I remember crying at least 3 times now, and I was full of despair, and I start, around that time, I'm asking myself the question of, what does my heart really want? What does my heart want to experience? Instead of connecting with my thoughts, because we're trained, our thoughts is conditioned so much by our upbringing, and by our environment. Is it really who we are? When we think that we want something, is that really who we are? And I've been questioning that for many years, and I'm learning to, and I'm still learning to, not let my thoughts control my decisions so much, and letting my heart control my decisions more. And the thoughts are important to put those decisions into action and to make them, I suppose, make them come into fruition. But in terms of the directions and what I need, I feel like the heart is more powerful. Like, there's research done about this as well on the internet with, there's the Heart Math Institute in the United States, and there's new research now and studies showing that the heart is more powerful, more intelligent than the brain, than the head brain.
Yeah, I usually tell my coaching clients, make decisions from your heart and plan with your mind.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's it. You know, and then there's the gut brain. So there's information on the intelligence of the gut, the heart, and the mind. And so using those three together, I think is the most powerful. But what I've done is I've let my heart drive my decisions. Now, obviously, that means a lot of challenges, you know. And so I did it once again. So going back to where I was talking about. I'm at my mother's. I'm in despair. And again, I breathe and just let go of my thoughts. Like, it's okay to have thinking thoughts, but then come in touch with my heart. I'd walk barefoot a lot on grass and the beach, connect with the earth, with the trees. So connecting with nature and asking questions to the heart, touching the heart, and breathing is how you do it. That's how I did it. And by doing that, I ask questions. And the answer doesn't come straight away, but I'll ask questions. So my question was, what does my heart desire? And at that time, what came to me was that my heart desires to bring community together, bring people together and hold more workshops and less of the one-on-one, because I was doing a lot of one-on-one coaching sessions before. You know, even when I went to the United States, I was still doing one-on-one coaching sessions, like, you know, and part of another dream coming true was holding coaching sessions around the world. And, you know, I held coaching sessions in San Diego. I held them in Miami as well. There were people someone flied to see me from New York. He caught an aeroplane and flew to Miami, and we had a coaching session at the beach in Miami. It was like, what is happening? So, and I held a workshop in San Diego as well, and we had like 23 people at the workshop, and you know, that was amazing too. And so dreams that I've had I keep coming true, you know. And it's not just one dream, it's one dream and then another and then another. And what happens is, whenever you make one dream come true, then another one appears, and then another one appears.
Exactly.
You know, and every time I just go with that, and that's how I get to experience joy regardless of what is going on in my life. You know, because we all have challenges, you know, and there's so many challenges that come up, you know, and emotional discomfort and emotions that come to me quite a lot as well, and dealing with them. But yeah, these things is what makes me feel so alive, you know. And so then, you know, I started. So from out of the despair, I had this thought of bringing community together. So I know this is a long answer to your question.
That's life.
And by bringing community together, and I suppose I'm speaking longer because I want to explain the message. You know, there's little messages everywhere in this story, you know. And so I started bringing community together. That was an hour and a half drive away from where I was living, you know. But doing that, I had also started meeting people, and they were offering me a place to stay, you know, whether it's to house sit or somewhere to stay and for the night and whatever. And this is what community is about, right? Community is about that, where we help each other. And I started to experience that, and that was quite amazing. And I was bringing community together on the central coast of Sydney once a month. I had a lot of good people around me that were helping me do that. And from that, I also had this desire to have more fun, right? I just wanted to have more fun. And I remember having so much fun in the United States with sober parties and sober events. So I'm like, I'd love to have something like that. And I knew that at the time there was a lot of depression and alcoholism and high suicide rates in the Central Coast area from people aged, especially males, aged 15 to 25, you know. And it's because of lack of connection is one, like not knowing how to connect is one. And two is the addictions like alcohol and drugs and all that, and so I wanted to create a space where anybody can come in and have a connected experience with everybody else. So I wanted to bring community together. I wanted to hold a space where anybody can come in and very easily start to feel connected, you know, connected to themselves and connected to others, and feel more love within and joy within themselves by being there, you know, and connect with other people as well, and have fun, and then walk away from that and still feel that when they walk away, still have a part of that in them when they walk away. And it's almost like something's shifted. It's almost like there's been a seed of love planted, you know, in some form. And so then they can then go and share that with their families and friends and community. And it doesn't necessarily mean sharing the experience they had. It just means accessing more of their own self-love. And then just by being themselves, able to make a difference. So therefore, it creates a ripple effect for the entire community. And so I started that with the Central Coast, you know, and we started. Lovefest came from that. From these community meetings came the idea of Lovefest. And Lovefest, it's like a mini festival, and it incorporates things like, you know, yoga and meditation, but also dancing. So there's conscious dancing, there's free flow dancing, there's DJs, there's live music, live bands, there's sound healings as well, there's live art, there's drum circles, so there's live art displays and artists, and healthy foods, and usually like vegetarian but good vegetarian food, and there's like raw cacao and kombucha drinks and no alcohol. And so you can come and have a transformational experience, a connected experience, and party, all right? So it's everything that I want in one, you know. And it was, for me, it was like playing to bring it together. It was like play. There was so much joy in creating it, because I was doing things that I love, you know, connecting with good people and bringing good people together, connecting with artists and music and the partying and the dancing, just the whole process of it, the journey. I experienced so much joy from that. Now that doesn't mean that it wasn't challenging, because I still had to put in the hard work, right?
I think a lot of people make that mistake to think that when you start following your heart, everything's going to be easy and there won't be any more obstacles and life will be just like fairyland, and it actually doesn't happen that way. It's like you said before, there's challenges anyway. Like, it doesn't matter what kind of life you're living, there will be challenges.
Yeah.
Are you going to face the challenges just to get more money or whatever, or are you going to face the challenges to actually bring more joy into your life? I mean, there's challenges anyway. I think that's nice to touch on, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said before, Maisa, about the brain comes in when it comes to the planning, you know? Yeah. So that still had to happen. So I'm following my heart, I'm doing all these things, but I still needed to think about and plan things and create things in a way that so it was going to work, you know. But I'm not good on planning, so it wasn't too much planning, but it was enough to make it happen in a way that was quite successful, and it was something that was unique, that hadn't been created before, and it was a collaboration, it was connection, it was community, it was unity, you know, people uniting that wouldn't have united before. And yeah, it was really quite amazing. Now again, I just want to emphasize that there are always challenges. So even though I did experience joy from the journey, and I did experience joy from the actual event itself, there is always these other challenges in life and emotional challenges that I go through. You know, I want to express that because, like you said, some people think that, oh yeah, I just want to experience joy and follow my passion, and that's all there is. There's always both sides, you know, and so it's very, very important to work on self, on those sides that are uncomfortable, you know. So for me, on my healing journey, one thing that I did is I started getting in touch with my emotions, and especially those emotions that are really uncomfortable. So, and I felt them in my belly, you know, in here, like I could feel those emotions in my body when I would just breathe and just let myself just feel, you know. And emotions like guilt and shame were quite high for me. I was carrying a lot of guilt and shame around in my body, and something that a lot of people possess, that I found through my coaching, something that a lot of people possess that of those emotions is the guilt of not doing enough.
Oh yes.
Right?
Definitely can relate to it.
Right? Especially around when it comes to making money.
Yeah.
Like so many people are hung up, and I had this as well, and I still do. It still comes to me sometimes. It never goes away. And then so many people have this, and so often have these thoughts of, I need to be working more. I'm not working enough. You know, I'm not saving enough. I'm not making enough. You know, or that I'm not doing enough. You know what that means? That's you telling yourself that you are not enough. It's like saying, I am not enough. All right? And so through what I've learned through coaching others is that at the core of the majority of society is I am not enough.
Oh yes.
All right? And that is your belief system.
Yeah, it's definitely a collective consciousness. I think most people have that belief without being aware of it.
Without being aware of it, yes. And because most of the time when I coach people, in the beginning they're not aware of it, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll ask questions and then ask more questions and then ask more questions. And by asking these questions, eventually it gets to, I am not enough. And then I saw this pattern happening again and again and again.
Yeah, and then they try to overcompensate that with things from the external,
Yeah.
like with more money or with more material things or
Yeah.
with more alcohol, more drugs, and there comes the addictions from the lack of connection, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. See, well, I've also learned that the opposite of addiction is connection.
Exactly.
But people can become addicted to anything, like
Oh yeah.
uh,
Going to the gym, having
Gym.
sex,
Even-
buying
yeah.
stuff, anything can become an addiction.
even yoga. Like I know people that are
Oh,
addicted to yoga. And so those are healthier addictions.
Yeah,
Like better to be addicted to yoga than be addicted
exactly,
to alcohol.
but still an addiction.
But it's still an escape in some way.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't see that either.
Like you said, sometimes people go, they change the addiction, but they're still addicted. It's just, like I said, a healthier addiction, and they go to yoga and meditation retreats and all of the personal development world or spiritual world, and they think now they're good.
Yeah.
But when you see them on the daily life, they're still struggling and things are still not aligned, and
Yeah.
those are become a different kind of escape, a healthier escape, but still escape.
Yeah. That's right. And look, yoga and meditation is a good thing. But yeah, some people become addicted to that, and they're escaping something. So I agree with that. So it's very important to do the uncomfortable stuff. You know, so be uncomfortable with yourself, right? So find where is the darkest part of yourself. You know, what emotions are there. You know, and like I said, what comes up a lot is the I am not enough. And so it's important to recognize where you are being that way in some form to yourself and even to others sometimes, you know. Because if you're a certain way to others, like if you're judging other people and saying they're no good or look what this person's doing, it usually means that there's something inside of you that you haven't recognized yet.
Yeah,
Because
you're actually judging yourself.
You're actually saying it to yourself at a deeper level. And I learned this through my coaching by asking questions. There are people that were saying that they're not good enough, or they aren't enough, or they're no good or whatever. They also had judged other people, and then by going through the process of just accepting who you are, you know, accepting ourselves completely, you know, all the darkness and the light. By getting into more of that space, you then start to judge less people less. You mean you start to judge other people less because you're starting to judge yourself less, you know, less and less.
Yeah, and I think it's easy, like I said, people get addicted to the results,
Yeah.
and they're always chasing something, and when they get there, they're already chasing something else, and that joy never comes into their life because they're addicted to getting somewhere.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's easy when you see Lovefest becoming alive and being successful and then experiencing joy, but that's not what it is all about. It's about experiencing joy every day and not all the time, but I mean, if you manage to find that joy on a daily basis through the process, because life is the process. Life is not the end result. It's not where you get at the end of something.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'll now share the story of my second Lovefest event, which was over in Central Coast as well. And that came together again, the same similar process, and it was amazing and everything, and beautiful. And I got a lot of. It was different again, the way it was curated. We brought in more environmental aspects, which I want to keep doing, grow as well. But it was an amazing community event, and I got so much good feedback from it. And people were coming to me and praising me. Oh, Joe, that was so good. Oh, Joe, that was amazing. Well done. I'm getting all this praise during the event, towards the end of the event. I'm getting all this praise. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And then through that, I felt so alone. I reached this dark place in myself. I was like, I felt very empty and alone in myself. But through receiving these compliments, and I didn't understand why. And then I looked at that part of me after the event. I'm like, well, where is this coming from? Why am I experiencing this? And that's because that feeling, that part of me is always there. It's always there, and I hadn't acknowledged it. I thought that, because I'm running these events, or because I'm following my dreams, because I'm doing my passion work, and because people are loving it, whatever, I'm all good. Yeah. That's not true. That's the furthest from the truth.
Totally.
So we are all human. We all have this side of us. And so many people are so afraid to go there. And I think that what I've learned is that by going there, going through that uncomfortableness of getting to know myself in that place, I learned to, and I'm still having a journey here. It's not over. It's never over. But I'm learning to accept myself more as I feel these darker places of me, as I see them, as I experience them in life too. I'm learning to accept that this is part of who I am, and that's okay, and that's enough, and I am enough as I am, both the darkness and the light. I don't need to achieve or fix anything, and for me that can be difficult because I'm very passionate, about I want to do all this stuff, and I have fun with it, and I have to continuously remind. Even you reminded me today, right, with what you said not long ago. Like it's continuously reminding myself that hey, there's nothing that I need to do except for just be here and now, and that is okay. I don't have to work either. And that's a hard one for a lot of people. I know that.
Yeah, when you start following your dreams and you get really passionate about it, I feel the same way as you do now that I do what I love as well. It's like, I want to see that coming true, and I want to see that coming true, and I want to see that coming true. Yeah. And when the challenges start to come and you don't see that coming through that fast, it's so easy to feel down. And it's like, is this the right path? Is this the right thing? Am I doing this right or whatever?
Yeah, that's true. And it's like you said, it's like not having a goal is the trick, right? So you have a goal. This is what you might have a desire, and say this is what I'd love to achieve. But then it's like not having expectation of it. So if we expect it, then we're going to experience a lot of resistance in our body, and then it becomes a struggle.
Yeah, when I feel that I'm doing that to myself, I'm kind of overwhelming myself because I'm so excited to get there, and I focus so much on that result and getting there and whatever. I'm like. Yeah. Breathe, you're getting anxious here. What's the next step? Just focus on what's the next step that you can take right now. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and Eckhart Tolle has a great message in his books where, where it's about the present moment, and that you can really experience so much joy just by being present.
Oh, definitely. The power of now changed my life. Completely brought me new perspectives around being in the present moment.
Yeah. And so that was a very valuable lesson for me after that second Lovefest. And I'm still on this journey of learning to be okay with myself and the darkest parts of myself, and knowing that I am enough as I am, and there is nothing that I have to do at all, and appreciating myself. And that self-love work is so important for each and every one of us. And for me, it's about a continuous journey of continuing that every day as it's my first level. So I create this mind map where there's circles within circles. The first circle is me and how I interact with myself and my own self-love. So then the second circle is, my family and close relationships, friends, right? And that means that it's important for me to do the same with them. I cannot do the same with them if I'm not doing that with me, right?
Definitely.
So I must come first. I am my priority, right? And then I can give to them. Giving to them with unconditional love, giving to self unconditional love and forgiveness, and then giving to family, friends, and close relationships unconditional love and forgiveness. And then, you know, I still have good friendships with my exes. You know, like that can be a tough thing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so much drama that can happen, you know, in a relationship, and especially towards the end of a relationship.
And blaming and all that game.
Yeah, a lot of blaming, and there's a lot of pain, you know, and all of that. But I'm always about unconditional love, you know, and it's so difficult. It's the hardest thing to do. It's easy to just blame someone else and walk away.
Definitely.
It's so easy, all right? Yeah, sometimes that takes courage too, of course,
Yeah.
you know, depending on your situation. But it's so much harder to practice unconditional love and really forgive, and know that your journey is your journey and theirs is theirs, and everybody has their own unique journey in this life, and everybody's doing the best they can with what they have. And that means that you have co-created your experience with other people, family, friends, etc. And so that's the second layer. Okay, and then once I know that I'm working on both of those regularly, I can then look at community. And what can I do to impact community, those that are outside of my family and friends, you know? And each layer is important as the other. So I need to be, if I'm not giving this love to my family and friends, then I'm not going to be able to do it for community. Then there's community, and then there's nation, and then there's planet, you know? And so the intention, so since then Lovefest has happened in Newcastle, and in March the 30th was the biggest one in Sydney. We had, it was in the Sound Life Dome near the Entertainment Quarter, and it was about over 80 different facilitators, artists, volunteers that were a part of it. It was a huge production, and it was amazing.
Can't wait to go to the next one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so good. It was a 12-hour mini festival that was also a transformational journey with an amazing sober party at the end. All right?
That's so cool.
I love it. I just have so much fun with it, right? It just feels so much fun.
There's probably a lot of people watching the video right now and think like, what? Sober parties? Like what? And like brain freezing around the idea of a sober party.
And you'll be surprised because there's so many people that are just sick of having to go to bars and clubs to drink and connect with people, because that's what everybody does these days. That's what most people do. It's embedded in our culture.
Yeah.
Is, you know, you go to work 9 to 5, 5 days a week. Friday it's party time. Let's spend all our money on alcohol and get drunk, and Friday, and then Saturday again, and then, you know, and then Monday back to work and do it all again, you know?
Yeah, people don't even know how to have fun without it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm figuring out. People are like, but what am I going to do for fun then if I don't go out and drink and parties? Like, what is left?
Yeah.
And there's so much options,
well,
so many options.
Yeah, well, I was like that too once, where I just needed to drink to socialise, because I used to be very awkward. I was awkward and I had social anxiety, where I didn't feel confident in myself talking to people, and so I used to drink alcohol so I could feel more confident.
Yeah, I think a lot of people relate to that.
Yeah, and so, but eventually I learned to overcome that, and it's very, very uncomfortable and challenging. Yes, it is. And there were many times where I'd feel so awkward and so uncomfortable, and I feel like I look like an idiot just standing there, just doing nothing, not looking at people and thinking, oh, what am I going to do? But eventually I pushed through that, and I got to a point where now I'm able to connect with people in a way that I could never possibly imagine. I've become, like, just last night we were writing up a business canvas with someone that's helping me to create this business canvas. One thing that I wrote as the most important factor for Lovefest is the networking element. Because with networking, connection, that's how I'm I can help bring people together. We can bring people together through the connections, you know. And so I was just looking at that I've come so far, and the reason I've come far is because I keep pushing myself out of that comfort zone, just pushing myself out of that, being uncomfortable again and again and again. And as I was saying before, that's where in that out of your comfort zone is where most of the joy will come. You know, that's what I've experienced, you know. And so from that we came. So from Lovefest is now is an environment for people that can come in without influence of anything. All right, you can come in, and when you get into that space, it's like everybody's there for the same reason. We're not drinking alcohol today. You know, we're here to connect, right? But with joy, and you have freedom to if you want to connect or not connect. You know, there's the freedom of that. But so many people find it uncomfortable to come to a Lovefest event. You know, I'm finding, because it's like, oh, I don't know, I've never been anything like that.
I don't know anyone to go with me.
I got no one to go with me. Yeah, it might be a bit weird. It's a bit hippie-like. You know, what's happening with this? You know, and they don't come. But they think about, oh yeah, they're curious about it, right? And so what I say to everybody is that I've been there too, with so many events, so many times, and I've gone on my own, alone. All right. But what happens is when you get there, everything changes, because it feels like a totally different vibration. It's a different space.
You feel safe, right?
It's safe. That's it.
You feel safe in those environments. That's what I go to those places for. I feel safe. I feel like in there, people are there for the connection. They're not there for a specific reason. They're very open, and in those places I feel like I can actually be myself, like everything that I am. I can be whole in those places because I feel safe. And I think most people don't do that outside of those environments because they don't feel safe to do it, because they feel like those parts of themselves can be rejected or whatever, and they have to be this persona at work, and this persona with the family, and this persona with that group of friends, and this other persona with that other group of friends, and they don't allow themselves to be whole because of that fear, of that unsafety of what's going to happen if I show up as my whole being, as the way that I want to show up. How is people going to respond to me if I do that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And what happens is the fear is what stops us from having these amazing experiences. You know, the fear of like exactly what you've said, you know, and it keeps us from going there. But what I've learned, like what's happened to me, is by working on the uncomfortableness within myself, so on my uncomfortable emotions and on that darker part of me that I've explained to you before. Working on that, being uncomfortable with myself and just being okay with that has allowed me to go into these spaces, has given me, I feel more strength to go into these spaces and feel uncomfortable there, because I've already done the work on myself. So all I can say, my message to everybody is, do that uncomfortable work on yourself and sit with those parts that are uncomfortable and just accept that, and it's okay, and give them love, unconditional. And by doing that, that would help you to step out of your comfort zone more and have more of these really cool experiences. And then you'll get to Lovefest eventually. If you keep doing that, I'll see you at Lovefest. That's it.
And if there's one tip that you can give, if people are going through a moment that they're struggling, they're not in that moment that things are already coming true and you're already feeling blissful that things are coming to life, when you're in this struggling moment, if there's one tip that you can give to people to find joy in those moments, what would it be?
So if you're going through a struggling moment right now,
to find joy in those moments.
To find joy. So you might be experiencing despair.
Maybe, yeah.
Is that right? So I've been many times where I've felt this despair and struggling to find joy because of certain things that are happening in my life, right? So you might be experiencing something similar. The first thing to do is to acknowledge that you're in this place, that you're in this place of despair, or whatever it is for you, sadness, despair, grief. Acknowledge that and just be with it for a moment. Be present with that. Because what a lot of people do is they try to distract themselves from this part. They might distract themselves, like you were saying, with yoga, with meditation, with drinking alcohol. So it can be destructive behavior or productive behavior. So meditation and yoga and gym is productive, and definitely much better than the drinking and other things. What I'm suggesting is that you don't do either. So if you can do the productive one is better than this one. But to go even further, so your healing can be more powerful and much faster, is to just not try to heal it to begin with. Just be with it. Be with those feelings. And just breathe with them. And be with those feelings and feel them in the body. Where in the body do you feel them? Like, ask yourself these questions, like you might feel them somewhere in your body. And that's okay, and you can touch that part of the body. And just know that you are okay, and that it is okay to feel this. You can send unconditional love and forgiveness to yourself and these parts of your body. And once you've done that, I think you can have a bit more clarity about where you are by being present. You can find more clarity. Just like right now, you can hear the birds. There's birds. I can hear birds chirping, people talking. I hear dogs in the background. Like getting into nature is really cool. Being present with nature. So that's another thing. Touching the grass with your hands, walking bare feet, going to the beach, hugging a tree. You don't have to, but I like it. And you can, be present with nature. So that's another way. And then from there, you can start to connect with your heart a bit more, and you can ask for what, if you want to, you can ask yourself the question, what does my heart desire? And let it be, and you don't have to have an answer. There might not be any answer, but if it doesn't come, that's okay. It just means that it's important for you to just be present with yourself. I think that is my tip.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
That was awesome. Thank you for coming. That was our first interview for Project Joy. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you get a lot of value out of this. There's more interviews coming, so subscribe to the channel so that you can see whatever we're going to produce here, whatever we're going to create next. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. See ya.
Yay.